So here's a here's a contemporary issue when it comes to writing romantic plots in fiction, or in storytelling in general. Although if you're going to write a romantic plot, it's like it can't be anything else. It can't be anything other than a fiction, right? Like right, by nature, right? So issue the common issue here is that what is easy about writing a romantic plot is that in the first place you have a setup and there's a payoff that you have in mind. Like if you're I hate saying that. I hate saying mental tab to avoid filler words. uh, anyway, as I was, if you're half decent, not everyone, in the first place, not everyone is good at writing romantic plots. You can see this easily in shonen anime slash manga, right? They're not really good at this. It can turn out pretty disappointing. I mean, in the first place, you're writing for a maybe like young adult audience, even teenage audience, but that's not even an excuse. That's not an excuse. But yeah, so shonen is never good at this. But suppose you're half decent at writing romance, right? Romantic storytelling. You have your man, you have your woman, you have your boy, girl, right? It's not exactly easy, but let's say that it's easier to do. It's easier to put together for setup and payoff. It's easier to put that together than to continue it, right? So like the easy part, it's like if it's hard at all, the easy part is putting it together, and then seeing it to a successive conclusion, right? So that's not really the issue though. Right? Like the issue is continuing it. It's like we all know how it goes. Like just think about your favorite romance plots. Just think about your favorite romance plots, how they started, how they ended, and how they continued, right? A lot of them just don't continue at all, right? If the story is focused on the male character, if the story is male character driven, the woman, the female love interest is going to take a back seat. It's like either she's going to get killed off, she'll be assassinated, right? Assassinated somehow, or like they'll break up. She'll break up with the guy. The guy will do something wrong. She'll break up with him, right? He didn't say the right, like, it's not even that he didn't say the right thing. He lied to her. He wasn't honest. They promised they'd be honest with each other, right? It's like it's usually some bullshit, right? Like it's usually some stuff that's not even like bro, like if you acted like normal people, you can actually talk this through. Maybe your girlfriend should be a little bit more understanding. Maybe like give this character the understanding of like a decent human being. It's like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to tell you for a good reason, so maybe give him a chance, all the way to the end. Maybe, in any case, it's like if the male character is lying to you, right? And you're like, a woman, like, the guy is lying to you. Okay, by the way, I'm speaking in full fictional terms here, right? It's like it's kind of it's a bit more complicated in real life, but maybe you should like it, but exactly, you should like it to be as such, in a fiction, right? You should like to copy from reality, but we find it somewhat difficult. We live reality, yet we find it difficult to render in a fiction, right? I suppose reality is a bit more complicated than we take it to be. Okay, what the hell was I saying? Yeah. So, the female character is mad at the guy. right? Like usually how that's gonna go. It's like this is the first mistake here, like the first problem a writer may run into, right? Like the problem is that they may they don't know how to continue the romance. Oh, it was great. It was great when it started. It was so good. It was such a great setup. It was so good. It was so satisfying, right? It was like one of those. It was like one of those tsundere matches, right? Like, oh, she was like mad at him at first. She didn't like him, and now she came around. He convinced her. He propositioned her. He persuaded her. They went to bed. They held hands. It was all very nice, right? It's like great, right? It's like it was great setup, great payoff, but now they don't know how to freaking finish it. They don't know how to continue it, right? It's like out of the many stories that I've seen, like the best, the hardest, The Office did it in such a way that was more convincing. Pam and the guy. How can I forget the guy's name? Pam, and um, yeah, Jim. Yeah, yeah. Right. I think that show had incredible writers. I think they did their best there. It was like one of the most convincing, continuations of a relationship that's just about ended. Right. It was so sweet getting there. It was so good. Right. I think they really did their best, right? Like to keep it together. It wasn't bad. It was better than a lot of examples that I've seen, or the writer really just doesn't try, right? I don't want to demonize anyone in particular. This is more like a prevalent problem in I think for as long as storytelling, I don't know. It's like this is like a very contemporary problem. It's as contemporary as war, and I don't know, man. No, sex and violence, bro. Like it's contemporary. It's like you see this in old works. You see this in new works, right? Maybe old works are even worse off, and maybe they don't even try at all, right? More than modern works. It's like, yeah, it's like, how do you have a great romance and then actually carry it? How do you have a great romance and actually continue it in such a way that it's still interesting to the audience, right? How do you have that? How do you have that? Shit, I don't know, right? Right? For a lot of writers, it's like, man, I don't know, but usually it's okay. Okay, so I don't know, but one way that I've seen, one way that I've seen it done is that, okay, create an external conflict, create an external conflict between the two lovers, so that they don't get to enjoy their relationship. Now they're arguing over something so stupid. All you would need to do to solve this is have them sit down and actually talk about it, right? Like imagine having your two characters, just sit down and talk about it, right? Like imagine how quickly it will be solved. But like, of course, you don't want that. You want to drag it out as long as possible. This freaking excruciating train wreck. It's like why can't you just let them be happy? Oh, because that's boring, man. That's boring. Happiness is boring, right? It's like, no, happiness is not boring. You just don't know how to do it, right? It's not boring. Okay, well, to be fair, happiness is pretty boring, but like, you can still have two characters be happy, and be happy together, despite them going through difficult circumstances. It's like that's how life is, man. That's how life is, right? Yeah, but like, I think the most atrocious way is to contrive some sort of external. It's not that external conflict is inherently bad, but like, there is you can put it on a scale. You can put it on a scale of, okay, this is good, this is like mediocre, right? And one way to do that is, again, to have like a, right, like you have them argue when they really can't. They could just talk it out like normal people. Like, if you can imagine how that would go in real life, it's like, okay, these people are gonna talk about this, right? They'll sit down if they want to stay together, right? They'll sit down. They'll talk about it. Say, okay, why are you lying to me? Why are you lying to me? Right? Why are you lying to me? Right? So something like that. It's like, look, I'm not even gonna do a guy voice. It's like, right, I'm a guy, right? I'm not even gonna do a voice. Yeah, it's like, why are you lying to me? Okay, this is the reason I'm lying to you. And okay, maybe I'm not gonna tell you exactly why, but I want you to trust me. I need you to trust me. This is like a life or death situation. It's like, especially like it's stupid, especially when it's like, maybe like the guy's like keeping a secret, and it's actually for a good reason. Like the audience knows it's for a good reason, but the female character doesn't really know anything about it. So like it makes them look bad. It's just like, why don't you just trust them? It's like, yeah, to be honest, it's like, okay, she looks bad, but like he's not being fair either, right? Maybe he's asking a little bit too much, right? So like a common issue there, it's like, making the female character look bad, for demanding questions, to maybe when she should have a little bit more faith. And another way is like for the guy, it's like, bro, why don't you just tell her? Why don't you just tell her the problem? Why don't you maybe, like, I don't know. It's like, something so simple ends up being dragged out for like a whole season. As much as I'm dragging this very point myself, right? So I think that's a problem there. It's like creating unnecessary conflict, right? Unnecessary external conflict. It's not specific to external. Okay, well, here's another external thing, like another external conflict that a writer may create to sort of placate, or to sort of try to have like a romance continue on, right? Like they may have them. This is the lesser evil, I would say, right? This isn't as bad. It's more like, okay, so like, they still love each other, but something comes between them that they have to separate. It's like, okay, and this situation also, this is not a good example. This is like one of those annoying examples, right? But like it's not as bad. It's like, at least they're not mad at each other, right, over like stupid reasons. It's like, okay, something came between them. Like maybe this guy, he has to go back in time, and she can't come with him, right, or something like that. He has to go. He has to be light years away. He like like his job, like he's barely at home. He works hard. He works like, it's like, look, freaking 9 to 5. He works a 9 to 5. He's not there. He's not there for her, and it's like she loves him. She wants to share the love with him. She wants to build a home with him, a family, but he's just not there. He's just never there. It's like, yeah, it just hurts, but like they still love each other, but like it hurts, right? Yeah, so like that's less atrocious. It's like some external forces are separating the two, the two lovers, but but things are more or less intact. So that's not so bad. But like, again, like the point is to have something. The point is to have your cake and eat it too, right? It's like, yeah, the saying is, you don't get to eat your cake. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too, but man, yeah, I want to eat my cake, man. I want to have my cake and eat it. Like, why can't I? Right? Like, I'm making all this shit up, man. Like, yeah, I'm gonna eat my cake, man. I'm gonna make my cake and eat it too, right? It's like, no, bro, this is fiction. I'm making this shit up, right? Like, I will do exactly that, right? So like, I think, do I know how to fix this? Do I know how to fix this? Yeah, I think it's I think I have an idea, sort of, right? It's like another fundamental issue actually is that this is actually okay, so like a way to fix this is that you must have each individual character interesting in their own way, right? You have to have them interesting, right? Like, let's give the example of Toka, Kaneki and Toka, right? Like, everyone likes Kaneki, right? He's like the freaking edgelord, right? He didn't start out like that, but Kaneki's pretty edgy, right? And he's like a cool protagonist. He's a cool protagonist, right? And Toka, she was like spunky, She was a spunky girl. She was I guess I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say she was quirky. You know, she was pretty edgy too, right? Like they had a good dynamic there. Not so much when she was stuffing down, she was stuffing human flesh down his mouth. But when when she warmed up to him a little bit, right? The issue I have, like, I think I like how that dude. This is another shonen. Okay, to be fair, it wasn't so bad, but the issue the issue with Kaneki, with Toka and Kaneki, or at least as I feel, is that when they got together, Toka, you know, you can call it character development, but I think Toka was reduced. Toka was reduced to a lesser character than when she wasn't in love with Kaneki, right? Like, you know, you may disagree with this example, but like I think there's plenty of instances where like the female character is a lot more interesting before she gets with the male character, because like a part of the reason why that happens is that now the author doesn't know what the hell to do with this character, right? So now they're gonna mellow them out. Right now, like this character barely has any dialogue. Like their sole purpose is to serve, you know, the male, right? And this is not a criticism on, like, this is not a some gender identity criticism, right? This is like this is founded on, this is basically I consume a lot of male oriented stories, and so this is how it is. But like this is the reverse, even for a show that is female oriented, like that's female centered, right? It's actually more awkward in that way, because there's so many stories that are male focused that, you know, like when I see it happening in a female driven story, it's just awkward. It's like it's like, so like this dude, you know, this freaking, like, who's the man in the relationship here, right? Like this freaking girl, you know, like, you know, she gets with this guy, and then you know, the romance is over, and then he takes like a freaking back seat. He's like supporting her, right? He's like he takes the back seat. He's not as interesting. He's not as charming as he was initially founded, right? He just takes the back seat, and I think it's most awkward when it happens to a guy, right? Because like, you know, like there's the masculine role. I suppose that's an issue. That's an issue in female-oriented stories, right? On, you know, an issue on the other end of the other end of the coin, where like the female, where like the male is basically, it's like you think this is like, well, you know, in any case, it's like it's the same issue, right? It's the same issue, because like the female doesn't want, like the writer doesn't want the female to look lesser, right? There's that insecurity, you know, there's that famous thinking where it's like, okay, I don't want to devalue the power of the female character, so I'm going to make this guy less dominant than he's supposed to be. But like women don't even like that, dude. Women don't like that. It's like you're going to devalue the masculine role. You're going to devalue the masculine role, you know, because you don't want him to look more dominant than the female character who's supposed to run the show. It's like that's like a complete denial of, it's a denial of real life, to be honest. It's a denial of real life, and I think it should be something you take up as, if you're trying to imitate life, it should be something you take up as a challenge, right? Because that is how it is in real life, you know. In most heterosexual relationships, you know, the male is dominant, you know, and the female is the male is dominant and the female is oppositely, it's, you could say, passive, right? Not necessarily, but it's like, you know, a man wants to be dominant, you know, and a woman would like that a man is dominant. Like if you're like a heterosexual female, this is as my understanding of heterosexual females, this is true, right? It's like a woman enjoys being a woman and a man enjoys being a man, right? And each, you know, when two heterosexuals get together, these things they delight in. It's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to be, you know, it's like I will be we can continue this and sustain it for as long as we can if you allow me to be what I am, and also if I'm okay with who you are, right? It's like that entire thing. So like the problem exists on both ends, right? Where on the male side, it's like the woman is. It's like I think it is most damning where, because there's so many male centered stories, right? It is quite. It's a very disappointing thing where like the female character takes like a back burner, or she's not as important, or she's killed off to facilitate the progress of the male character, right? Like it's very disappointing, right? It's a very disappointing thing, right? It's like you've done a lot of things that are great in this work, in this story, in this fiction, in this work of art. Like you've done a lot of great things in this. I really enjoy the story, but like in this one aspect, you've fallen short, and it's a very easy thing to fall short of. It's very easy to fall short in this department. And so like, yes, back to the solution. I would say, well, in any case, I've already said the solution, right? Like you want it to be that each character is an individual of their own, right? Like it all falls apart when you stop considering that, right? It's like how are you treating your how are you treating your male character, right? A character with a voice, an active character, a character who gets things done, right? How are you treating your side characters, right? Yeah, exactly the same way, more or less, right? It's the same idea. They have arcs, right? It's like the issue comes when there ceases to be an arc. Well, that's actually a secondary issue. It's like either there is an arc and the arc is unnecessary. Yeah, right, because you don't have any more material for them to interact. It's like imagine getting in like a real life relationship. It's like you're courting this girl, right? And then you get together, and then suddenly it's all boring. It's like does it work like that in real life? No, it freaking does not work like that in real life, right? It so does not work like that in real life. Like that would be sad, right? Like at that point, like mission, like abort the mission. Like mission failed, right? Find someone else. This is not how it works. So it baffles me. Like I would say that I'm baffled why writers why people find it difficult to have this right. It's like have them talk, right? Like for a lot of romantic relationships, fictional romantic relationships are very shallow. And maybe shallow isn't even like a criticism. It's more like, okay, maybe you have two shallow individuals. It's like, but like, what do they talk about that's actually interesting, right? It's like, have them be their own individuals. Have them be like active characters, right? Have them advance the plot, right? Like, have them advance the plot, right? You want to do that first and foremost. Don't put the female character on the back burner. And like, if you want to kill her off and like get a new romantic interest, like say, like, sure, keep the story interesting. It's like I understand if you want to get rid of the love interest, and find a new one. Like, yeah, fair enough, right? But like if you want to keep them like genuinely, right? I think in a lot of cases maybe it's more valuable and more human, to keep around the person that you were with since like season 1. But again, like people don't know how to keep them. They don't know how to keep them there until season like 4, right? Writers don't know how to write committed relationships. Yeah, otherwise they just cut them or they turn out very boring, right? So like have them talk like real people, right? I think Quentin Tarantino is really good at this, really having two characters talk like normal people, right? He's not particularly with romantic. He's not particularly known for his romantic characters, right? Like he does something entirely different, but like like a guy like Quentin Tarantino, he would be very much capable of this, right? Like he knows how to have two characters talk in such a way that not only is it interesting, but it also actually serves the plot, right? It's like have these have these characters defined and then have them talk to each other. Have them talk to each other. And like usually it's like, okay, like don't have them talk about the freaking plot. Like don't have them be so blatant. It's like, okay, they're not really talking about anything personal, right? They're just, hugging, kissing each other, and they're talking about the freaking plot. Like, what the hell? Like, dude, this is not good, right? This is boring. Like, I see what you're doing. They're not really hanging out. They're talking about work, right? They're not really, nothing's really going on here. This is like boring, right? It's like, have them defined, have them be actually defined human beings, man. Like, just like, if you've ever been, I just thought maybe it's very difficult for a lot of writers to write actual relationships because they've probably never been in one. Maybe they've never been in one. I mean, to be fair, right? Like that may be half the issue. That may be half the issue. It's like, this guy has never been in a relationship. It's like, either you're not a good writer, or you've just never had that experience, right? Like, because like, when you're writing a story, you want to draw from real life. It's like, so like, if you had been in a relationship, right? It's like, I can't exactly speak to be like a freaking relationship expert, right? Like, right? Hey, all right, I look, right? Yeah, look, hey, I'm not even, right. I'm not even gonna expose myself, right? But yeah, it's like, you draw from real life. You want to draw from real life. It was like, the best stories are the ones which, it's like, a person sees it and they recognize, it's like, huh, they must have gotten that from somewhere that was real, right? It's like that detail right there. It's like that is so, that's a very delicious detail there, man. That's actually what happens, man. Right? It's like, you draw from real life, right? You draw from the intrinsically human, and then you put it in the art. It's like, if you've been in a relationship, and like, you're in a good relationship, but like, it should not be all that difficult to contemplate on what makes that work, and then you add it into the story. It's like, either you're not a particularly good writer, like, which is fine. All men are not created equal. But yeah, which is fine. Which is fine. But it's like, it's either that, or you're, you have no experience. Yeah, I mean, it's like, but like, yeah, right? Like, so like, just have these two characters, fully fledged, right? Like, don't give up just because, now the romance is over. Like, the best part is over. Like, don't give up. Like, if you want to write something genuine, it's not like it's impossible. It's not impossible. Like, it is certainly not impossible. I think a lot of writers feel that it is something that is impossible. But like the way you do it is exactly how you've been doing it all along. It's like the way you make an interesting character dynamic between, two characters. It's like, imagine like Sherlock Holmes and his guy. Sherlock Holmes and the guy. What's his guy? What's Watson? Yeah, like Watson and Sherlock Holmes. Like, do you ever get tired of watching Watson and Sherlock Holmes? It's like, I've seen stories where it's been made to work, except it's not in the context of lovers, right? Like, the thing that makes Holmes and Watson work is the very thing that would make work, that would work for two love interests, right? Like, two characters in love. Like, it's the very exact thing. It's like, do these characters have good dynamics? It's like, they don't have to be hugging and kissing on each other all the time. Like, that's just like, it's like, all right, it's like, you don't gotta have that. Like, are these characters, do they have, it's like, what made them great before they got together? Like, what was so great about them? It's like, I understand some people may say that, okay, Toka got character development, right? She was like a super edgy girl, that was making Kaneki eat shit, and then she was like nicer, right? It's like, Toka was far more exciting when she needed character development, right? It's like that's these facts, right? Like she was way more exciting. Post the time skip Kaneki, it's like she's like a beautiful girl. She got she got an upgrade. She got she got an upgrade in the front there, right? She got an upgrade, but like she didn't do anything. She just kept quiet and smiled and looked pretty. It's like dude, where is the old Toka who was like brash and like spunky and everything? Like she was so cool, right? She was like she wasn't she wasn't entirely ratchet, or like she had like a human side where like she considered her human friends, right? She wasn't. It's like she wasn't all bad, even though she needed character development, right? Like have the same Toka, have the same interesting character as they were before the character development, right? It's like imagine like when you develop as a human being, it's like you don't do a complete 180 and become someone else. It just doesn't work like that, right? Like character development does not mean now I will mute what made my character, what made my personality intrinsically charming. Not now I will mute my charisma stats, and be more placating. It's like no, dude. It's like, right? Like just have them be as they were before, right? The issue is that maybe you didn't quite define what they needed to develop from, right? But like they don't need to lose their entire personality, the thing that made them charming, right? The thing that made them like a good match for that male character, right? It's like how do they play off of each other, right? Like think of it like don't think of it as a. It's not. You should not like to think of it as something like. They can do no wrong with each other, right? They don't banter. Like it's like, dude, of course they banter, like, right? Like they get mad at each other over like petty things. Like that's what happens in real life, right? Have it like that. So in summary, have them have character arcs of their own. It's like for as long as your main character keeps developing, for as long as there's things a main character must overcome, let that be the same thing for the female character. Have them not write them in such a way that they can stand on their own. See them as an actual person, right? Pretend, right? Like everyone else, like with every other character you have, right? It's like see them as fully fledged from the moment that you conceptualize them, right? See them as such, right? It's like if the male character has an arc to get through, so does the female, and like all the better if they can go through that arc together, and they can still play off each other, like Logan and Deadpool, right? Look, I don't know, I didn't watch it, but like maybe I watched a video that something like that, right? Sherlock Holmes and Watson, right? There's this anime that I watched. This old anime. It's so good. What is it called? Bakano. Oh, Bakano, dude. There's these two characters. Like a husband and a wife, right? Like they're married in the very beginning. What an impressive show, bro. It's so good, bro. Like they're married in the very first episode, right? And like they just like every time you see them on screen, they're so fun. Right, they don't do any kissing or whatever. Like they don't do any of that. Like not that that's bad, right? But like they don't even need that. Like they don't need that fan service. It's like every time you see them together, they're just magical. They're freaking magic, dude. Like they're so good. Like their dynamics were insane. They were so insane. Like they were like mysterious, right? But like they just played off of each other so good. It's like they didn't have to be husband and wife, but like it just so happened to be that they were. Right, so like you don't have to think about it as like, okay, these two characters are lovers, right? Like they can do no wrong with each other. They're gonna be loving on each other all the time. But like they don't even have to argue. Like they can just have like a genuinely healthy relationship all throughout. And like an example of that is you can see within that show, Bakano. That show is so freaking insane, right? It's so good. I should probably rewatch it. I should probably rewatch it sometime soon. It probably won't be anytime soon, but yeah. If you've seen that show, that's there's a very good portrayal of what I'm talking about. But the portrayals are very, they're very they're rare. Like there's like a rare work where a rare work that gets it right, right? It's like have them, even like of like external conflicts. It's like you can have an external conflict that they can suffer through to get together, and still be happy together. Like a genuine external conflict. I think there's this movie, this movie trailer. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's out yet. It's by Garfield. What's his name? The Amazing Spider-Man guy. Yeah. What's his name? Thomas? No, that's not his name. Yeah, Andrew Garfield, right? Like Andrew Garfield and the girl that played, the woman that played in Midsommar. Florence Pa, something like that, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, that's her name. I just searched it up. Yeah, yeah. So, like there's that movie. I think I really like the trailer. Yeah, because like it seems to me like they have something. You watch the trailer, you'll see what I'm talking about, right? Like it seems like they have an external conflict which they will go through together, but like their romance will sustain all throughout. So there's there's some really good examples every now and then of characters that are able to pull it off. And yeah, consider those two things if you're particularly inclined to a sustaining chemistry between two particularly interesting fictional characters.